Hi, I'm Karim Bashir. I'm one of the fencing commentators for the FIE. I used to fence internationally for Great Britain in men's foil, and I accidentally fell into commentating when the European Championships came to Sheffield in the United Kingdom in 2011. And after that, I worked for the BBC at London 2012. And since then, I started working for OBS, the Olympic Broadcasting Services, and FISU, and I'm now the lead commentator for World Archery as well. So I started fencing when I was 7 years old at school. I went to a school that's known for fencing in the UK, and I got some success relatively early on, and I fenced through until I was 33 years old, and then the knees gave in and I had to quit. I took some time away from the sport, but I ended up falling back in love with working in the sport of fencing, and I started doing some media work for the British Federation, and that extended into doing media work at the European Championships in 2011. The FIE then asked me, the International Fencing Federation asked me to come to the World Championships in Catania in 2011. And I then moved on and worked at the Olympic Games as a commentator, an expert commentator for the BBC. And from there, I went into the Olympic Broadcasting Service. And from the Olympic Broadcasting Service, they then said, well, we like your voice. Can you come and do some other sports? And I ended up doing, well, since then I've done 15 different sports: summer, winter, Olympic, Paralympic, and fencing is my first love, but I'm the lead commentator for World Archery. I love the sport of boccia. The Paralympic sport of boccia is absolutely fantastic, but I love talking about sport. It's a job that they pay me for. So the World Championships in Milan, a massive event. The Italians and Marco Fichera have done a fantastic job of laying this on. But the biggest surprise has come on the last day, for sure, 100%. First off, I think it's the first all-Asian podium in men's team foil, but that is because Hong Kong, with the reigning Olympic champion Chun Kar-long, beat Italy in the quarterfinals. It's the biggest surprise I've seen in commentating fencing for 13 years. So we're in the country of the most successful sport in fencing. Italy sit at the top of the pile in terms of Olympic medals. I think it's 125 Olympic medals, and I think it's 369 World Championship medals up until now, and they've won a few here as well. They've done a great job, and they've got this cauldron of a final that's got 2,000 people in it, and the noise is incredible. It's a very, very educated crowd as well. So yes, there have been Italians in the final, and it's very loud and very noisy, but even when there aren't Italians in the final, it's been absolutely incredible. The atmosphere in this venue is one of the best I have ever seen in fencing. So Milan 2023 is not only the World Championships, it's also the primary qualifier for Paris 2024, the next Olympic Games. And it's where the points can be stored, and you can almost guarantee a place at the Paris Olympic Games if you qualify in the top four as a team. Olympic ranking is a strange thing because it runs April to April, and the world ranking is a rolling ranking system. But in April, all the teams go to zero, and that's when you start to pick up your points. 5 World Cups for the teams, and then your zonal championships plus the World Championships count. Important to these athletes here. So the world ranking system for fencing is a rolling ranking system. So you keep your points for 12 months until the next competition turns up. So if you do a competition on the 1st of January, for example, you hold those points until the end of December the following year, and then the first competition in January that year replaces those points. So even though Gerrit Meinhardt perhaps didn't do as well as he expected, in fact the superpowers Italy and the USA did not perform quite at the standards that we're used to at this competition. But even so, Gerrit Meinhardt did better this year at the World Championships than he did last year, so he jumps up to number 2 in the world. So my commentary journey began in 2011 at the European Fencing Championships, which happened to happen in my country, in Sheffield, in the city of Sheffield, up in the north of the country. And it kind of happened properly by accident. I was working for the local organising committee as the media officer, basically. And there was a little bit of money left over at the end of the budget about 2 weeks before. And they said, hey, Karim, what would you do if we gave you £4,000? I said I would live stream fencing for the first time at the European Championships. And they said, great, go and find someone to go and do live streaming. And fortunately, I found someone, and they came in, and 36 hours before the competition started, this company called me and said, okay, we're all set up, we're ready for your sound check. At that point, I hadn't actually thought about commentary at all. And I couldn't find anywhere else to do it. And I thought, oh, okay, I'll go and do it. I know my sport. I'll go and talk commentary. So I did it and I loved it. Within 10 seconds, I just thought, wow, this is incredible. They're paying me to talk about something I love. And then from there, I went to London Olympic Games for the BBC, and I met all these professional commentators, and the amount of work they did, I learned very quickly. The job's just not the talking on camera, or even not on camera. It's not just talking about the sport. You've got to know all the details, or you've got to spend a lot of time researching. So for Milan, for example, for these World Championships, I did about 2 weeks full-time researching, getting all my data up to date, because I've done this for 10 years now, so I've got athlete details for every single athlete here. All the profiles are done. So it's just going on through and updating, going through the results through the season. And of course, I follow the sport right the way through. And I kind of follow that pattern when I do other sports as well, except of course, I'm not the expert commentator in those sports, but I know what it is that you have to learn in order to do the commentary and add value to the audience, who you're effectively just guiding through the sport and adding some detail that perhaps they don't know. So there are plenty of people out there that talk about wanting to be a commentator, and there's certainly plenty of people that criticize the commentary. And if you put your head on the line, that's what happens, and that's fine. But there are a lot of people out there that want to do it, and I'm a massive advocate of young people coming through that know the sport, they love the sport, doing it with passion. And if you want to do it, it's learning that research, it's understanding that you've got to know all the fine details about everything. You've got to know about the last head-to-head, when they last met. You've got to know about a dip in form. Or here, for example, Ariana Errigo, returning for the first time since winning a silver medal at the World Championships last year in Cairo. She's had twins. Now, not everybody knows that. Everyone just thinks, oh, Ariana Errigo's retired, but actually she had twins and she was always going to come back, and this was the target event. So picking up that details, getting to know the individuals, talking to the coaches is huge, and talking to the referees for me is a massive bonus. So every time you go to an event, my wife tells me, oh, you're going on holiday again. She knows I'm not. It's a long day every day. Every day you're up early, you get into the venue. Even if you're not commentating, you need to get the feel for the venue, and you also need to see the fights before we go live with the broadcast. So it starts very early, and of course it finishes right at the end of the day. We're the last people that leave the venue. But I do it because I love it. And at the end of the day, that's the big thing. That's always going to be the gold medal match. So part of what I've learned over the last decade or so is you've got to pace yourself. You've got to be very careful early on not to go too high or too deep. So if you're looking to do commentary, that's the key thing. If you go out 100 miles an hour, there's nowhere else to go. So start gently. Peaks and troughs is my tip for anyone that wants to do commentary.